This is a highly unprofessional endeavor we're all involved in right now.
Wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah.
Yes, no, maybe. I don't know. Can you repeat? Yes, no, 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 maybe. Life is unfair.
Hello and welcome to Yes, No, Maybe. My name is Ryan.
My name is Willa.
We are brother and sister, and this is a podcast where we discuss, debate, and relate to the widely seen and criminally underappreciated 2000 sitcom Malcolm in the Middle.
A show that I think our guest is a little familiar with.
He's heard of it.
We joked about having him on the podcast probably throughout our entire past year. We kept saying, next week when Linwood comes on, we'll ask him about that. And,
We had no intention of actually having him on.
Or no
plans to
conceivable idea that it would happen. But the creator of the show, the reason why we're all here, the man who took 20 years away from the show and then came up with an idea so good he had to come back and do it again. It's Linwood Boomer.
Hello.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Huge honor for us.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy.
We're fans of the show.
Thank you.
If you couldn't tell, the colon a Malcolm in the Middle podcast, it's quite literal.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
First thing I have to say is once we found out that there was this podcast, Tracy and I started listening to it, and I noticed there was occasionally a common thread about, Linwood, and then there'd be this euphemism, he's a real tough customer, and, he doesn't like hearing this, and, and I was like, I don't know. This seems like, so I want to make sure that, I don't accidentally, hurt anyone's feelings or, because, I like everybody.
Yeah.
You seem
anyway.
You're not going to hurt our
just
feelings.
before we start.
No,
Okay,
you can't
good.
hurt. You can't hurt our feelings. Ryan hurts my feelings every day.
Mm-hmm. She makes it so easy.
Yeah, exactly. So
Fair enough.
If anyone's going to do it,
I was always worried that people involved in the show were going to listen to our podcast because I just feel like we say some horrible things in the podcast. And I'm always like, Willa, we can't say this. What if they listen? And
I'm like, you know what? This is our sense of humor. So, sorry, but you guys kind of molded our sense of humor by making a show that has some pretty vulgar moments. And you know what? I like joking how we joke, and I thought they would find it funny, even if sometimes it's a bit unsavory. Do you ever think that, in comedy, do you have a line you're like, okay, that's too far. Do you ever experience that in your writing?
I can't believe how badly you've disappointed me with your very first question. What the fuck? Where am I? First, you insult me that I'm difficult, and then you start off with a question like that.
That was Steve Welch. That wasn't us.
Everybody. I'm sorry. I planned that in the car on the way over, and I got so excited about
how you're just going to lay into us.
If you were really pissed, we could make a clip that was Linwood Boomer walks out on fan podcast.
Yeah, that would go crazy.
Yeah, so there's the door. No.
Yeah. Wow. Wow, you hurt. You hurt. I'm sorry, what was your question? I wasn't even listening. I was so excited to do the bit that...
You know what? Let's just forget it. Let's start at the very beginning, though. The first kernel of the idea for Malcolm. When did it come to you? We heard a rumor that it was originally titled "Fighting in Your Underwear."
Fighting in underpants.
Fighting in underpants. Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll make a correction.
Before I did Malcolm, I've been working for almost 30 years in the business and 20 years as a comedy writer or more, and a big part of comedy writing is, you're locked in a room with other people and lunchtime comes and it's okay, we can stop thinking about this for a half hour, 45 minutes and eat our crappy food and styrofoam. And I would tell stories about when I was a kid, and the other writers I was talking to would always say there's a TV show in here. And I was like, no, there isn't. It's sad. The story of my family is actually pretty sad.
Yeah.
And I heard it enough times, and it was time for me to write another spec. It was I really believed, even though I was working very steadily for 20 years, that you had to have current material so that, if I wasn't running a show, that some of my friends who are running shows or new people who are running shows would want to hire me on staff, and that to do it every 2 or 3 years. And so I thought, this would be an okay spectacle, but it's just not funny. Even if I exaggerate or whatever, that, I had lived it, and, it was kind of upsetting to me.
Right.
And the thing that let me turn it, feel okay about writing it as a script was the breaking the fourth wall thing. And, I didn't even like that as a term. I just liked the idea that, for me, the show was about a kid who's fundamentally alone, and it was a story about a kid who, you have this expectation, both as an audience watching a family and as a kid in real life, that your family is going to be a resource for you. And I always felt as a kid, I'm on my own. These people are not helping me. I remember... I'll give you a good example, where I had just moved into this special class, and I'd sort of just been picked by the other fucked up kids in this genius class that I was going to be the scapegoat for that year, and I was just fucking miserable. And they had, because we had everything, the line about, all this special materials and cameras and all this stuff that they don't want to waste on normal kids that we had. And part of it was therapy. And so, I would see a therapist once a week, at lunchtime at school, and, but I was just fucking miserable in this thing because I didn't have any friends. And, it was all these people that I was around all the time were really emotionally damaged weirdos. And I think I was crying myself to sleep. I was 9 years old, 8.5 years old, and I was crying myself to sleep. And my mom, we had one bathroom that had a bathtub, and she was taking a bath. And it was next to the kids' bedroom. And it was like the Malcolm House, sort of set up like that. And she goes, Linwood, what are you doing? It's I'm crying. So, come here and talk to me. And so I get up, trudge over, and, I explain to her, and I start crying again while I'm explaining to her, and she goes, God damn it, we have to stop. You have to stop seeing that therapist, because ever since you've seen that therapist, you have been so upset all the time. I was just I'm pretty sure it's not because of the therapist.
Getting in your head all these ideas.
But that was this. But I remember that as I'm on my own here. And so I was writing that in the script, and it was it's about this kid who's really alone, and all this stuff is sort of wacky and funny, but it's so fucking sad that he doesn't have anyone. And then I thought, you know what, he can have an imaginary friend. And despite what Quapis or Steve or any of these other fuckers tell you, that's what he is. It's not a device. It was he had to have a friend, but he had to have a friend who couldn't help him. And that, because I like the idea that, Malcolm, all these things are happening and his parents are fucking no help, that he could turn to a camera and go what the fuck?
Yeah.
And just sort of, you had the sense that whoever he was talking to was going, yeah, man, what the fuck? That's horrible. You don't deserve that. And that let me write it. It just became can you believe these assholes? And someone going yeah, they're assholes.
Yeah.
And that let me write it.
That is fundamentally sad that they can't respond, whatever he's talking to.
Yeah, and I mean, you massage stuff. I mean, no one in my family, including me, was as charming or funny as, those characters are.
Yeah.
But I have a really difficult time writing until I don't. It's just everyone writes differently, and some people spew out a bunch of nonsense and then fix it over and over and over and over until it's beautiful. And some people just sort of start and stop and start and stop and start and stop. And I just sort of worry something over, and then usually it's like some idea will let me write the entire thing, and then it, comes out pretty quick.
Right.
Okay, so it's a TV show, so it's, episodic. Did you have any kind of arc in mind for?
Nope.
No, just
Just
tell
like
stories.
a regular TV show, like just a regular fucking TV.
Regular,
They didn't, because you had
yeah.
to do 28 episodes.
Yeah.
And
You can't
you
think
were
like that.
normally so backed up, that like you got to get 28 scripts out, and there's no like months and months of like let's plan out
Yeah.
a
Right.
season long arc.
The slow
and-
burn of Bernard the
yeah,
hamster.
that all came out. That was existed in the industry kind of after Malcolm went off the air, and it was actually one of those rules, like any episode, you got to be able to come in at any time,
Right.
know what's happening.
Or even rearrange the episodes in a season if you
Yeah.
needed, right?
Yeah.
The cold opens, were those like moments where you can be really anecdotal about like, oh, this is from my youth?
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of those things that we would bank, and it was, there was, I don't remember what it was, but one of the writers had something that was so funny and just perfect, but there wasn't any way to
Right.
have
Doesn't
it
have
in the
legs.
story. There wasn't anything else in. And so, I mean, one of the nice things we decided to do is once it was on and, it did well right away was like, we can do we don't have to do a cold open, but we can. And then just because everyone, like everyone does, they have at least one or two stories that are really funny, in that thing and maybe don't connect. So we could store those up and use those. Sometimes they would turn into a crucial part of an episode. But one of the things that we just sort of said, let's try is like, we could do a cold open or maybe we wouldn't. When syndication, we sort of put some things into cold opens that weren't there before or took them out entirely.
Oh, like you could take a scene even and just use
Yeah,
it
if
as a
it,
cold open.
yeah,
and-
if it was something like it doesn't belong in there, you know what? We can cut it into cold open. But we could also like, at the time, it was somehow considered like you can't do this. Like if you started as a 2-act show, for the rest of the show, it had to be a 2-act show, exactly the same format. Or if it was a 3-act show, and we were like, why is that? And we realized it was like because whoever does the like old-fashioned format guy who cuts in the commercials didn't want to have to think about it. Like whether it was a 2-act this week or, he just wanted to go like, okay, it's a Malcolm, so you cut it 11:05 and 15:07 and put the commercials in. And we're like, fuck that. That guy can do a fucking 2 seconds of
He
thinking.
kick rocks.
Yeah.
And, we were waiting to hear, like, is this going to be a problem? And one guy from, one executive, maybe a person said, this is a different act. I said, is there a problem with that? And they were like, I don't know. I'll check. And they were like, no, it seems like it's fine.
Funny.
Okay, so some episodes, and for people who don't know what that is, it's like the structure of the story. Like you can have a 2-act story versus a 3-act story.
Yeah, and it's basically about the commercials.
Okay. So it's like when did they
is
line
there
up?
a commercial break in it? And then, I think it was after the show was off, they have like 5-act thing, just to be able to insert more commercials.
Jesus.
Yeah, I remember I was talking to one of the writers that was on A Different Choice. I said, you're trying to write, a 5-act structure.
Yeah. Wow.
Did you, writing the revival, were you a little bit like, thank God, no commercials? That must have been nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was really nice to not have to figure out, okay, look, the act break should really be here, but, it's got to be between page 15 and 17 or it'll be way too long before the act break and they'll just cut it somewhere arbitrarily.
Right.
Like that was actually, I mean, we did not have a ton of bad arbitrary rules that we had to follow. I mean, we were very lucky that, the show was a hit right away.
And you were such a tough customer.
Yes, and me being a tough customer. But here's the thing, like we had, when they were giving us notes, they didn't understand how single camera worked, which they were used to the multicam, which is like you have a table read on Monday and they come in and give a bunch of notes and then you have a rehearsal, everyone does this giant rewrite and then they see it on their feed on Wednesday and then they have a bunch of notes because it's this panicky rewrite that happens because of all the notes, and the writers expecting a bunch of notes and changes for the table read don't really work that hard because it's like they're going to change it anyway. Just let's go home. And then, the Thursday and Friday changing, and then you're at the taping, and the executives are there, and they're like, I didn't like that, but you got to do that, and it's like all this stuff. But they would call and say, we're not, when's the table read on this? And it's like, there isn't one. We're shooting. Right. And that took 4 or 5 weeks. And then they would call and say, like, this scene, there's a problem. It's like, we shot that 3 days ago. And while we were shooting, we were a mid-season show, and the network had bet all this money on this other show. It's called Action, that like had this great pedigree, and Jay Moore was in it, and Chris Thompson was really funny, right? It was like, and it was about show business, and they had spent all their time really working on that. And when that flamed out, they were like, oh, what else? Malcolm, okay, here's what we want for that. It's like every episode has been shot.
Right.
It is like we have 13 episodes. They are in the can. Yeah. They are locked. It'll cost like hundreds of thousands of dollars for even the slightest change. Yeah. And they're like, well, never mind then.
And then when it was so well received, did that kind of quiet them down a little bit? Yeah.
I was like, then it became something, we can't monkey with this.
Yeah.
Right. There's something going on that's great. Mm-hmm. And you're like, yeah, fucking, you finally get it.
You talk about how it's the show is so inspired by your childhood, but I'm also curious, like, was this kind of like atypical depiction of the family unit, like a conscious response to like how families were depicted in sitcoms at the time at all?
I guess so. I mean, the thing was written for other writers. Again, it was like a way to, my conception of it was other writers will think this is good. Mm-hmm. They're going to think it's really funny, and they're going to think, and they will hire me to be on their staff because they will feel confident that I can write a good draft.
So not necessarily that would be made, but that it would just show your chops.
No, because it also felt like this will never get made. They don't do it. It's way too expensive. They hate not having, like a laugh track.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we were still getting that through the pilot, and I finally figured out, and again, it was sort of like me, I think I spent a lot of time trying to figure out, okay, how do I get there? And I just said, you really want me to put a laugh when a kid tips over his wheelchair?
Yeah.
You want to have a studio audience going, God, that's so great, that kid fucking, and I kind of like, all right. But, it was one of those things that we put in a big music sting for it to make it funny, but.
Yeah. So one of my favorite things about the show is that it oscillates between like drama and comedy very well, and doesn't feel, and I feel like a laugh track would just kind of dictate things too much.
It would be telling you, this is comedy, this is comedy, this is comedy.
Some things are funny and sad. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
But also, we did a lot. There were a few multicams or a few single camera comedies that most of them were just, they felt so limp and dead, and like this podcast.
Honey, look at the 3 cameras. You tell me it's
no, but that where without a laugh track, there's an energy that the laugh track provides, as annoying as it is, and that's why the sort of all the sound effects and the whip pans and all that, like Todd and I spent a lot of time talking about it, and just sort of, that I didn't want to have that. Like, there was a really good show, I think it was Larry Gelbart did, with Beau Bridges. I can't remember, and it was really beautifully written, and there was no laugh track, and it just felt like you were watching a camera rehearsal for a soap opera.
Mm-hmm.
It just fell really flat, and I was like, you know what? I was very, very conscious, and so was Todd, about like, this has to have like a real gigantic amount of energy, and like sort of point to, this is a comedy, even when this kid is being frustrated by his parents, and then try and do it in a way that doesn't look like it's a Saturday morning show, for little kids.
But it has the sound effects and the little noises, and it does seem like. To me, it almost reads like, those cartoons and stuff, or those shows are like bleeding into their subconscious, and they're peppering their world with these sound effects because they're kids and that's how they see the world, which is just awesome. And the whole look is like this 2000s grungy kind of feeling too, with the music and you know how the messy rooms and everything. And I mean, that
I'd
probably
love to say like tons of that was intentional,
Yeah.
but a lot of it is just sort of like that's what I like. You know, the
Yeah.
family dresses the way I always dressed.
yeah.
And the music is stuff that our music, Julie Houlihan, this music supervisor, who is just like a friggin' genius. And just, we had 2 meetings, and from that meeting on, she'd come in with like 10 choice, and they were all stuff I liked.
Nice.
You know?
You're like, can I actually get those CDs? So.
Yeah. I mean, in the pilot, the thing that we went out on, Tracy, her Better Days, and Tracy was like, you got to hear this song.
Oh,
And I was like, oh, yeah, that's like perfect, you know? And it was just my idiosyncratic taste. And, you know, I'd love to say like, yeah, I did that because of this. I mean, the outside sort of me being a producer about how to present this were about like the editing and the sound effects stuff and the photography that I wanted to look like a Hallmark card. You know, I really, you know, it was like, this can't be orange enough that like the way I kept putting it to Todd and the DP, Victor Hammer, I was like, if you're watching this with the sound off, it should seem like it's the happiest family in the world.
Funny.
You know, so it basically meant that, you know, everything looked like it was just about to be sunset.
interesting. Yeah. It does have that quality.
There is like another thing I love about the show is that there's so much attention paid. So like some of these sitcoms don't really care too much about compositions and camera movements, but there's like such intentionality in Malcolm and like the physical comedy, but also just like jokes in the filmmaking, which I really appreciate. So like that balance of like, I mean, it seems like you were always really conscious of utilizing the frame.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big deal. We had a really good crew. We had always had like, we were really lucky with our directors, and you know, because it also, what I realized later on is this show for a lot of TV directors was like candy. You know, it's the first time where they're not like the 2 inside cameras are doing the close-out and the 2 side cameras the other way around. You know, the 2 inside cameras are doing the wide and the 2 outside cameras are doing the close-ups because they can get a better eye line.
Right.
And that's kind of it.
Right. They get to have fun with it. Did they come to you with ideas? Of, we
all
should
the
do
time.
that.
Yeah. I remember Red Dress. Oh God, Tracy, I forgot not Arlene Sanford. Is that the right name? Yeah. Okay, no, I just wanted to make sure Arlene Sanford was a person that existed. Huh? Okay, thank you. Arlene Sanford and Levy Isaacs, our DP, had like a day where they weren't the first day they weren't getting along. And it was a little bit like, you know, they're very professional, so they were doing it, but you could tell they just sort of like, and then they came both running up to the office together. And I was just like, this is weird. And they were like, we have an idea.
Aww.
And there's a kind of lens with a prism on it that you can shoot this way, but it sees up this way.
Okay.
And they said, we're going to put water on it.
Oh,
and then it'll be like the toilet's point of view of Lois finding this thing in the toilet. And they were like giddy about it. You know, and then they liked each other.
That's so
they
sweet.
Had that idea to
Bonded through the idea.
When I said it's a really good idea.
It is.
Good,
It's this thing because it gets this weird mystery of why is she staring
gross.
in a toilet, and then she's reaching in, and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And then you see a prop guy.
That's like one of our that's probably the best clip we ever made. We
Yeah.
made a clip of Steve talking about the prop thing, and people were like, I knew it. It's awesome. People love little
You know,
things
and
like
somebody
that.
said to me and Steve, like, you know, there's a prop guy in the shot, and we're like, wow. And, you know, we thought like maybe, you know, there's like this kind of thing back in the shadows, but it's full on the guy standing
With the
there,
bucket.
holding the bucket, full shot in, Lois waiting, you know, Jane is waiting there for her cue, and then he rips up the bike. She picks it up. Prop guy's like watching her go, and it's all completely on camera. After that, I decided, like, look, if we didn't see it till the mix, let's leave it in. It'll be a fun thing to start. And we did a lot of that kind of stuff after that, just to see what people would do. Really? Yeah, we did the most egregious, which I did with my family for like weeks, I think, before I pointed it out to them, was I would show them the dancing scene in the graduation episode. And it was called Morp.
Yes.
And there's this, pretty standard shot where, it's a wide shot and the camera starts panning down. You see all these teenagers dancing like crazy. And I showed it to the kids and said, "Did you notice it?" And I go, "What?" Played it again. "Did you notice it?" And in that shot, after like 3 things, I would point to, I think we're in the lower left, as me and Alex Reed. In like with our headsets, and our comms, and we're 50-year-old men dancing together. But like, we're not tiny in the back of the shot. We're basically as big as anyone else, awesome. Like doing this ridiculous homoerotic flailing, like jumping up and down with our arms. No one notices it until it's pointed out, and then that's the only thing you see.
Wow, that's so
too
funny.
good. We got to find that.
Yeah, when we get to that episode.
When we get there, we're only on season 3 right now.
Midway through season 3.
What do we just watch? Oh, Barton.
The smarter kid.
Yeah, and that throws a wrench in anybody who thinks that Malcolm turning to the audience is just like his superior intellect. Well, Barton's smarter. It doesn't seem like he turns to the audience.
He does not.
We love Barton.
And Malcolm in that episode sort of he kind of gets pissed at Barton because he's sort of like, all my life I've been the best. And that's a side of Malcolm that before that you don't see too often, of like him kind of being like, his ego's hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
And anyway, I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
So one of my questions is like, which character do you see yourself most in, and did it shift as you aged? It sounds like Malcolm is sort of somewhat of a conduit.
I mean, certainly at the beginning, and all the characters were, the mom was my mom.
Well, she's our mom.
And the brothers were Francis was my oldest brother.
Yeah.
And the other two, Brian and Greg, were Reese and Dewey. But those were the least exactly like my brother was not an idiot bully. He was just a regular idiot. Sorry,
Reese is on the rewatch. Reese is I think my favorite. I mean, he is just, especially Justin's performance, like
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
I'll tell you, it's a cheap writer thing, but if you have a complete idiot, they're the easiest to write jokes for.
Yeah.
And you can really usually find a really big joke for them,
right?
And it's easier for any other kind of character. Yeah. So there's pretty much a dummy in any show that any of those the big laugh shows. There's always going to be a dope.
Yeah.
Because
but he plays it with this sensitivity and this. Self-awareness. I like when Reese is very self-aware. He's like, well, yeah, I'm stupid. And it's just, and
a sadness to it.
Yeah.
Some scenes I just actually can't watch. Like that episode where they prank Reese with the pig, those girls. It's just heartbreaking. Yeah. I mean, there's so many. And
I'll tell you the one that I really liked was he's lost something and he has to retrace his steps. And he's sort of going to, he goes over to his drawer and he's hanging on a thing, and he goes over to this other thing, and he's like, oh my God, here, and then he goes over to the mirror and goes like, stupid, fucking stupid, what the fuck is wrong with you? And then he goes over to and the other thing, Mouse, what? Fuck, what is that?
Yeah. Which, it's so good.
Yeah, and it was just sort of like, that's great, but all the actors really, they taught us how to develop those characters.
Right.
I mean, especially Brian.
Right.
He just changed what the character. I had this. A lot of what was best about the pilot was for me dropping these writerly conceits that I was very proud of as a writer. I really liked the idea as a writer that you would never see Francis. I mean, because what happened to me as a kid was like my brother was fighting a lot with my mom, and then he just disappeared, like it was, like Chile in the 60s. Because like we would occasionally get letters or something, and it was just like he was gone. And so a lot of our relationship to him was just imaginary.
Right.
And, in the pilot, it originally was like, again, like it was really sad where they were talking about, talking to each other about all the great things he was doing. And
Right.
then they're arguing about like which great thing that they're all just imagining anyway, which one is actually real, and none of them are.
Right.
And it sort of turns into, you can tell they're getting agitated just because their brother has been, a member of the family has been, disappeared, and, they all feel one of them could be next.
Right.
And they just end up punching each other and beating the shit out of each other. And I kept that in way too long. And Steve Welch, the other, says, we can save like close to a minute. And we get that he's gone and they miss him.
Right.
Like we get that.
Right.
And for the purposes of the story, it's kind of funnier if, the phone rings and Lois says, "Somebody get that?" And then it's like, "I'm not going to get it. You get it. No, you get it." And then the next time you see them, they're beating the shit out of each other.
Oh, so that was the end of a different scene,
Yeah.
sort of. Wow.
And that it was connecting to that, and it was really connected to, "I'm sure you're a very good mother," and that's when the kids come rolling through in the window, like beating the living
Yes.
snot out of each other. And that helped. And my writerly conceit with Brian was that, like my dad, my real dad, was very, very remote. He just, honestly, he didn't like us very much, I think. He just didn't. Then, a lot of times I don't blame him. And so he didn't really talk to us. He'd go hide in the garage, like a weird amount where he would just be in the garage. And it was just to get away from the family.
Yeah.
And, I wrote that, and the pilot was just this remote guy who didn't want to connect. And turns out that's really not funny or interesting in a sad way, It's like...
Yeah, it's kind of just sad.
Well, but it also doesn't come off like that because we're not seeing anything from his point of view and
Right.
seeing, it's just sort of like it was, I was writing about absolutely nothing, what was coming off. And Brian jettisoned that,
Right.
and it looked like for the first few episodes, when he auditioned, the thing that made me laugh so hard was it looked like he was building a rocket ship in his head. And that's what, like, he was busy
Yes,
with
yes.
something completely pointless. And
Right.
he loved his family anyway. And, but like he wasn't available because he was busy with doing all these other futile things, which was really funny. And, still had the same effect on,
Right.
the
Because he's
thing
not
about-
as always involved. Like, he kind of does go off and do his little projects.
He's got to do his own thing, but the fundamental thing was he's not going to be a resource for Malcolm.
Is that just one sec? Mine's more important. So you say that Brian came in and kind of blew up your conception of Hal, and does that mean that their relationship, the marriage relationship, was it different when you first conceptualized the show? And what? Because to me, that's so central.
I was actually thinking of it, and it was appropriate for the pilot that it was meaningless. The relationship between the parents was meaningless.
Right.
And I did think that, we can explore what their relationship is later on, but I don't know what it is yet, and I want to make sure, again, that it doesn't contradict the you're on your own thing, which to me was like the thing that really had to land. And when, they just sort of worked on this thing where it was like they can't keep their hands off each other. They're really connected to that fulfilled that function, but in a really hilarious way. And then we could do sort of sex jokes.
Yeah. Did you get pushback on that ever? Of like,
No.
Good.
I mean, as much as we, because we had Lois, sort of tastefully topless, in the pilot. So we were like, well, that, we can claim that as a precedent.
Oh, it's so good. They're just boobs, lady.
You talk about when you talked about your father and being kind of removed, and that being the conception for Hal. I just want to touch on that in the revival, which we'll get to eventually. But there is in the whole ayahuasca thing.
I'm sorry. I'm just preoccupied because I was going, oh fuck, I should work up some fake tears. And start talking about my father, and just like I stopped paying attention because I was so fucking worked up about, oh God, this will be hilarious. I'm sorry.
We can do a take two.
Yeah.
In the revival, there is that part of, and this is going to air after the day it comes out. There is that part of how one of his, personas is like, just leave, Yeah. And so I'm wondering if that part of Hal, if you see that part of Hal in the original, like, is that part inside him somewhere, this urge?
Evil Hal?
Yeah, I guess so. Or the one that wants to escape.
Get away from the family. Yeah.
No, I don't, in my heart, that wasn't real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was sort of a byproduct of his fear.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what was real about that. I did a shitload of mushrooms in Hawaii because I was just, I did so many substances very recklessly. And one of the things that I came to realize when I was in my 20s is like, I'm not enjoying them, but I was still like, I love the transgressive thing of like hiding weed and hiding this, and I smoked like a silo full of weed before I ever figured out that I actually don't like being high on weed. Because I was like, I got to take more, I got to take less. And I got very excited after seeing this documentary Michael Pollan did about it was called Changing Your Mind. It's pretty good, where he takes psilocybin in one episode, with these psychiatrists sort of watching him this and, and sort of what it brings to the thing. And I thought like that would actually be cool, to do that and do it like with some
guided trip.
And like sort of, so it's not like I was in the back of a fucking pickup in a Walmart parking lot, with my idiot friends. And it's like, there's no insight to be gained.
No.
That way. And I got bored with hallucinogen. Like after about 20 minutes, I get bored and it'd be like, I got another 4 hours of this. This is fucked up. So I did that, and I had like kind of the shape of that trip is the shape that I had. Although it was, Hal as a father is a very different character than me as a father. I think I carry a little more of the Lois thing as a parent, and mine was not a naked mole rat. It was a feeble, mange-ridden, like missing one eye raccoon.
Wow.
That, and the guy was like, it chooses you, man. You don't get to choose it. And I was like, this is fucking awful. So I was following. He's like, okay, follow your guy. He's going to lead you somewhere. Like the thing is moving, like because it's like crippled
towards a big dumpster.
Yeah.
Well, we ended up in the ocean somehow, and then once it was in the water, this feeble raccoon could really fucking move, right? So
Sure,
of course,
yeah. As
naturally,
they do.
Yes.
Okay.
And he starts diving straight down in the ocean, and like 100 miles an hour, and he'd just go down, almost disappear, and I go down and start getting very black, and thing disappears into the distance, and there's just these bubbles like where he was left, and they come up and surround me. And as they clear, I see my mom and my son Gideon, who they're like they're both like in their 40s, which my son Gideon is now, but my mom, died when he was like 7 or, no, that's not true. He died when he was 15. That's not true either. Some number. It was definitely a number, his age. And they were standing back to back. In that, that sort of corny,
like a buddy cop movie,
back to back, like they're just sort of like we're pals.
Yeah, 40 hours.
Which they never did. They never really saw each other. And And I said, there's this weird thing where that's what I'm saying. He says, what does that mean to you? And I instantly said, I haven't been fair to either one of them.
Wow.
And it was that, I put that in the thing where Hal is sort of talking about his fear and then just, what the hell did I just say? And, and unpacking that. And I realized, like, just over the years and even through the show that I had simplified my memory of my real mom and taken away some of the stuff that was really real about her and was just as important, was like that she was actually really smart and really funny and had this very strong sense of like justice that like, this is wrong. You're never going to do, because that's wrong. That's not good. Bad people do that kind of thing. And that I still sort of carry with me.
Yeah.
And, so that scene was a lot of stuff more than, the stuff with the teenage girl. All that stuff was through what had happened to me. But that one was very personal. And Brian and I worked on that together a lot. The fear thing was something that he actually hadn't told me before about how.
Yeah.
Just sort of operating through this fear.
Yeah.
That felt like such a light when I saw it in the revival. I was like, oh, duh.
Yeah.
And we have been talking as we rewatched, like, oh my God, he's scared of these dolls. Oh my God, he's scared of the hospital. Oh my God. And then you're like, oh yeah, he is just governed by this, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was, I'm really excited for people to watch that.
Yeah, but it was also the thing, like the dialogue that we came up with, I think it was mostly him, those things of like, it taught me to never let go, don't always say yes because you're never going to get another chance. And, it just explained so much that, like he had it, I didn't have it, like I'd love to feel like I'd really worked that through, but I didn't, he did.
Yeah.
Right.
What do you think Lois would have to contend with if she had a similar experience?
I don't.
Like if she did a trip experience.
She took all that.
Do you know what she would?
She would just sort of say like, that's a hallucination.
Yeah, right. She'd be serious.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, and just sort of ignore it. And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's nice.
Sort of a tangential question, but so what I love about the original, one thing I love about the original is that we kind of find out that all these boys have something that they're meant for in some ways. Dewey's kind of, Reese is a cook and Dewey's musically inclined. And so in the revival, it's sort of like, oh, Dewey's an artist. But then I'm sort of wondering, like, do you think that he's the only artist in the family?
Yeah, I think everyone else's sort of life had fallen a different way. I actually liked that, Lois's thing was exactly like what she said it was going to be. And, Malcolm's sort of on the way to what, Lois was saying it was going to be. And we talked about in the finale, like, what's her plan for Reese? She's not going to have a plan for Reese.
Keep him alive.
That's pointless.
Yeah.
Like, and she knows that's pointless.
Quick editor's note for you. What's about to happen here, for those that are just listening to audio, is that Tracy Katsky-Boomer, Linwood's wife, comes into the recording booth and tells him to move the water bottle away from his crotch because the way that he is holding it looks questionable on camera. So that's what's going on here for those that are confused. Enjoy.
Oh.
Put that on the table or down.
Oh, the ball.
Oh, am I doing that?
You're holding it on your crotch and going like this.
Oh my God.
These clips are going to be good. That is so fucking
I'm sorry, I had to stop.
That is
you.
so
I know you're gonna want more.
Oh my God.
I don't think I feel comfortable.
Yeah.
It was the artist question that really got him going.
Yeah. That is really fucking funny. Oh man.
Good producer.
Yeah.
Are we
really
in
good
4K?
producer.
You can
We can
zoom
crop
it.
it. We got
You
it.
can
Yeah.
zoom it and just have the, I'll be cut off on the back a little
It'll be
bit.
a slow zoom into that throughout the entire.
Oh my God. I think it's even, let me see if it's in the single. Yeah, a little bit.
That's so good.
Wow.
you
Linwood,
know what you
pervert,
can do?
exposed.
You can just do a banner. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
a little block.
like as if people are going to forget my name from like,
Yeah, yeah,
just
a
leave
lower
it up
third.
the entire
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my God.
That is so funny. What were you talking about, Ryan?
I have no idea what I was talking about.
I have a question I'd like to ask. So, do you often disagree with Lois and the decision? See, I'm not going to be able to get it now. So, do you often disagree with Lois and the decision she's making?
I don't think of it that way. I always understand why Lois is doing that. You know, I always have to understand why someone's doing that. You know, and even if like I'm not above an arbitrary joke, but then I have to go back before I have, you know, and figure out like, okay, what's the reason for this? And with Lois, it was most of the time it was, and we liked the conceit because I think people feel that way with their parents sometimes. It's like all this stuff for the wrong reason, and it worked out. Now they're going to think they were smart, and they, you know that they had a good idea, and they didn't. You know,
Right.
We sort of landed on that, I think, sometime late in the first season, and just thought that was kind of a funny way to construct a story.
Yeah. Speaking of Lois, Ken Siegel mentioned to us when you were testing the show, or you did audience testing, and we had a test audience watching it, and they had a dial that they would turn in real time.
Yeah,
So
that's what testing was.
right. And he said that Lois especially turned people the opposite, like
They could say if they were feeling negative or positive.
yeah,
right?
in the moment. And apparently Lois had a big reaction.
Yeah, a
on
very
people.
big reaction.
Yeah.
Did you have to defend that to the studio or anything?
You know, it was weird because the guy who was running it, I mean, here's the thing about testing back then. It was completely fake. It was completely phony. You know, they would present it to, it was this one business that had a testing house and did the testing. And it was just to try and get some data
Yeah.
for the people to help justify their decisions to their bosses. You know, it tested through. There was every busted pilot that got on the air was a terrible failure. Was like it tested through the roof.
Yeah. This podcast tested through.
And again, completely phony. And it was basically this one guy who, you know, would sort of talk about, you know, these are people who have never done a testing thing before. They're from all walks of life. They're demographically chosen. And I was going up the elevator to go through the test, and I'd been through it before and knew. I was like, this is complete bullshit. And this guy was going, you testing? And I was like, So here's the thing. Just make sure you say two things in a loud voice. You know, I mean, look, I've done this like 50 times. And, you know, it's they give you like $90. It's like, it's easy. You know, and he turns to someone else, says, remember that other one? Yeah, we got all this stuff. We got all our opinion. It was great. You know, so we're going in that. And so what it was is you look at a videotape, you have a monitor, you're in a different room, you know, behind the one-way glass.
Right.
You know, like it's a cop interrogation
Right.
thing. And they're in there and they're watching the episode. And sometimes you'll see you'll hear them laughing uproariously, but they're turning the knobs down. And a lot of it is sort of like they feel like they're a custodian of television now. And so they're like, I don't know that it would be good for children to see
Yes.
to see this
I
kind
think
of behavior.
His balls are implied to be on screen.
Yeah,
That's
you
a
know,
bit-
and so you would get that.
Yeah.
But Malcolm tested okay because he was the central character and because he was saying, you know, that he was, you know, smart and, you know, that like they liked him okay. And then Lois came on and, you know, was yelling and they would just sort of go like, parents shouldn't yell at their kids. And we had this meeting where the guy was saying, you know, I think some people were confused about this lady who's in the house with him and waking him up. We don't ever say that that's his mother.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
You know, so I think it would help to loop a line where, you know, he says, Mom,
Oh my God.
when he does that, just so people aren't confused. You know, it's like stuff like that. But here's the thing.
Wait, actually, I just put it together. That's his mom.
The Fox network was kind of the only network that I had experienced up to that point that had said, like, yeah, you know what? All our stuff tests terrible. And they just said, don't worry about it. And I was so grateful and surprised that, that was never anything that affected us.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, we've heard a little tell of how fierce you are about defending your things, about wanting to walk away sometimes.
Here's the thing.
Uh-huh.
I saved my money over my entire career. As an actor, it's very, and I got to basically bankrupt as an actor. So once I started writing and had regular paychecks, I was like, I'm putting my money, and I had a plan for a lot. When I started doing Malcolm, I was 2 seasons of staffing as a co-exec from being able to check out. And I really liked that. And my whole career up to then, I would sometimes sit out for a season if the shows were just so bad that, and there'd be some good show and they didn't want me, and some really crappy show wanted me. And some years it was like, okay, well, the financial plan says I have to work this season, so I'll take the crappy job. And other seasons it was like, I can sit out for a season and wait for, a better gig.
So you gave yourself the flexibility through that planning to
It just sort of, I found that I really hated doing stuff I didn't like.
Yeah.
That I didn't want to see and I didn't want to watch, and I just felt like
right.
It felt like I was being forced to do something awful.
Yeah.
And again, it's all idiosyncratic stuff in my head, and there's stuff I hate that is really good and people love, and I just don't respond to it. And, it was more like a self-protective thing than a commitment to, great art.
Yeah, is there something I guess we were wondering if there's one most important thing you're like, I'm always going to stand firm about this, about not changing this in my show.
I have to sort of see the point. And there's a lot of stuff, again, like in the pilot, the things that, someone said, let's see the brother. And I was very the whole point is not supposed to, and I just had an idea, 'cause it was, again, based on my brother, it was he would have these, explanations for why he got in trouble. And they were always kind of the same explanation. And I just had that idea of it'd be really fucking funny to just hear one explanation that he's applying to 9 different situations. And, I had an idea, okay, we can edit it like this. And I saw it and it was like, okay, that I can do that.
Yeah.
Right. And then later I was figuring out, okay, well, if he's at the military school, what do we do with the military school?
Right.
So it gave me other ideas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I think we should probably move on to talk about the revival.
Let's talk about the revival, and then.
Should we do a speed round really quick, Bob?
Yeah, should we do? Do you want to do? We have a speed round questions. Do you want to do them now or
do I
after
have to
revival?
go fast?
Well, they're just
Well,
kind of yes
they're a
or
little
no.
stupid. They're ones that you don't really have to expand on. So
All right.
we'll see. Should we do that now?
So this is your subtle way of telling me to shorten up.
no.
This is always the plan.
No, this is our way to get you to answer things you probably don't want to answer.
In season 2, episode 22, the boys are watching sports. Do they like sports?
I don't know. Yes,
Wrong
they
answer.
like sports. They like some of them like sports more than others.
I guess if you had gone to sports, you would have to talk about regions, and you like it to be non-regional, right? You like it to be kind of
Yeah, I mean the ones that did that, it was always so awkward.
Right.
When they would try and keep things the team.
right. Go sport.
Yeah, or trying to come up with a football team's name that didn't really exist.
Totally.
Right.
Totally.
Season 4, episode 19, Future Malcolm. What's up with Hal wanting Lois to be really big?
Some people. Tracy was always encouraging me to put on pounds.
Okay. Interesting.
A little role reversal there.
She liked fat guys. So it's just like, all right, well,
Interesting. Okay.
I'll beef up a little.
Is there a part of Lois that actually wants Craig?
God, no. That's creepy.
Agreed, eh? We're not.
Okay,
I mean,
Also-
hopefully we were very clear that that is incorrect. We had that whole thing where she's like Craig, no.
Yeah.
Here's the thing,
Love that.
no.
Love that.
No to
That's one of the
everything
best.
you're thinking, no to everything you're hoping, no to every wish you might have for the future, no matter how tiny, not even close to anything, just no.
Wow.
Methinks the lady doth protest too much. What does Hal paint?
Well, it's obviously abstract. I mean, what he does, he paints like 7,000
Yep.
coats of paint.
Yep.
It's like Jackson Pollock or something.
That's good.
Yeah, we were always decided that like that's something you can't see it.
You can't know. No.
In what's the episode? Maybe I forgot. Oh. There's an episode where Reese does something so bad that he's kicked out of the house in season 5, episode 15, Reese's apartment. I'm sure this is a similar answer, but do you have any conception of what Reese did?
No.
Okay.
I mean, that was one of those things like let's just not say and let
like
people
the last
fill
name
it in
and the
because
job.
we've done tons of those things that were bad and just sort of the idea of it raises a question that we like sort of putting out there. Is what could that possibly have been?
Right.
What do you think Malcolm would be happiest doing?
What he's doing. I do think that, working in a nonprofit that's actually working, and just sort of feeling like he's being useful in the world.
Yeah. Do you think he'd be a good president?
No.
Yeah. I guess before we get to the revival, I do want to ask about that. The Lois wanting Malcolm to be president. When did that idea come into your brain and it's an interesting kind of, because the show, I was debating this with Willa about whether the show is not really political overtly, but that scene, I mean, correct me if you think I'm wrong, but like is a little bit, Lois is talking about how he'll finally be a politician to like give a shit about people like us. What was the decision to sort of make it textual in that?
I mean, because I think it's true. I do think that there hasn't been a president that gives a shit about people like them. I think they're kind of by definition. The phrase I didn't come up with, but it was an article about Malcolm that came out about, I don't know, third or fourth year, but talking about the life about a family on the fringes of society. And like, I thought that was like perfect because it like, not just, in the world and their social strap, but like of society in terms of being social, that they were on the fringes, their friendships were very few and very tenuous,
the pariahs.
all of their relationships, with work and everything else were always sort of tenuous and with each other, were kind of like not normal and not certainly they're not in the middle of the bell curve. Right. On any of that stuff. And and I do think that those are the people that, they're not easily persuadable and they can't provide anything to the people in charge that they want. That was very easy. And all the writer, we were just like, he would be, the way he's lived, he would give a shit about people like them. Yeah. And it's not like there are people who are sort of disadvantaged that just sort of stew in resentment. And I mean, Trump is sort of appealing, they just want someone else to fucking pay for them, whatever their problems are. Yeah. And, it just felt like, that would someone who actually has some sympathy for normal people, that would be good. And we all went, that's totally like Lois saying that. I mean, the other thing that I liked is you don't get to have the simple life where everything is easy and luxurious. And they go, that's Dewey.
I love that.
And then it's true.
Yeah, Dewey goes, really? And they go, So anyway, you're going to be the... and we really liked that everyone else in the family knew it, that was the plan and all that. And they never even thought they thought he knew.
Yeah.
Too. Like that was, because my mom did have that thing of like, she sort of thought what everyone was going to do. And, that was, and it wasn't even so much that she was demanding it. She just sort of like, my mom just thought like, okay, well, Linwood's going to go into show business,
Yeah. It's just what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is that confidence that Lois has that I wish I had that. That's very nice. So, the revival's out. Everyone's seen it. Incredible. We loved it. I was definitely very shocked by the twist that he was keeping this daughter from the family. Like, that felt like the biggest thing to me.
I had that idea, and I liked that it, like, escalated like that. And I was telling Alex Reed, who co-produced it with me, about that scene, and the parents bust in and, he's just sort of been exposed. And, that Lois says, you have a daughter? And he just said, and she says, she's alive?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was just
That is
like,
great,
oh,
yeah.
fuck, that's brilliant.
Yeah. It's dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he had told her.
He's dead.
Like, oh, yeah, no, your grandma's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She
it's
died a
super
long time
dark.
ago. Yeah.
It's super dark.
One last editor's note. In this next answer, Linwood refers to something called a secret word. This is something he was telling us before we rolled on the interview, where he sometimes sneaks a secret word into an interview, kind of for a fun game, something like banana or talcum powder or something. I don't know. Him and Tracy do this. Just in case that doesn't make sense to you, that's what it means. Just a peek behind the curtain. Okay, enjoy.
Do you think there is validity in Malcolm cutting off his family, or are you like that is a psycho thing to do?
You know what? It was a big part of when I moved away from my family. And again, there's like the real life thing that can inspire something, but then like what do you want people to hear as opposed to what is it you need to spew out? That it was a big part of, when I left my family, I was like 17, and moved down to LA to go to show business school like my mom thought I was destined to
Like
do.
she knew.
And I just saw people talking to each other and interacting with each other in a way that I was too young before and too in the milieu of my family to which is not
It's your secret word.
it's not a secret word. I just was very impressed with myself. Anytime I use any artistic kind of word, I get very impressed with my ability.
You have to point it out.
Yeah.
All three cameras.
Yeah. Milieu. Maybe later I can do oeuvre.
I love oeuvre.
Completely forgot what I was saying.
You said you heard other people talking.
I realized that and again, I have more sympathetic view now. It's like, my family never taught me any of this, to let other people talk, and that someone can have a different opinion without being instantly attacked and belittled for it, and then laboriously proven how wrong they are and how stupid that opinion is. That it was just sort of like, the joke is they did it in The Onion one time. It's like knockdown, drag out, fight about the capital of Peru occurs 3 feet from an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
My family was just like that, and it was a lot of just sort of conflict and aggressive, belittling, and just sort of people tearing each other down. And I got away from that, and I didn't see my family for a long time, and I, thought of it at the time, and in a lot of ways it was true. It let me learn how to build relationships and how to act like a fucking adult, decent human being as opposed to an animal.
It doesn't seem like it was that good for Malcolm in that he obsessed over it so much, right? And the way he did it was trying to stick a little bit too, rather than maybe for his own growth. You know?
I don't know, what he was saying was all stuff I believed in my 30s, 20s and 30s was like, if I'm around, the joke that I liked, it doesn't get too big of a laugh, but I still love it, is that you got to think of it like they're the full moon and we're werewolves.
Yeah.
Because I did. And I mean, my family will testify to this, that when I do go back around my family, or did, very few are left alive, that I changed, and in a way that they found kind of alarming. So that was my real experience, was thinking that, that was the right way. And, in a lot of ways it was, I was able to have good relationships. I was able to, find a career that I really liked and advance in it, because I wasn't constantly picking fights.
Right.
And all that was sort of learned. It was not instinctive.
Yeah, you actually had to fly the nest to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of it too was, what I learned later was it wasn't just my parents. It was like different parts of your brain switch on it. And I had a lot of stuff that was very late in turning on my prefrontal cortex. That, things that would calm me down or look more than 5 seconds into the future.
Right, right. Yeah. You've always said that you would only do the revival if you had a really solid take. What was the moment and what was the take that was like, this is the angle?
Well, Tracy gave it to me. It was like, what if, because I'd gotten to the point where it's like everyone's, bullying me about this. And then Tracy said, why don't you just do your friend the courtesy of really thinking about this idea? It was just like, God damn it. Okay, fine. And so I did spend some real time, like what would be good and what would be, I had no ideas that I thought were any good. I mean, there are all these sort of like regular sort of conventions. And Tracy was pitching ideas and they were almost all just infuriating because they weren't helping. We had the same, in the pilot one, we had a guest actor playing himself that was really genuinely funny. And then it became problematic to have that guy. And so everyone was pitching who we could replace him with. Excuse me.
Sorry.
Oh my God, no, my stomach just.
Wow, so kind of you.
Sorry.
That's really nice of you.
Guest actor.
Sorry,
It's
yes.
so crude and gross. It's really like gross of me. Like, oh, it's hideous.
You better cut the shit out.
This is a highly unprofessional endeavor we're all involved in right now.
Wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah. Okay, again, what was
Guest actor.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, this guest actor. And, people are pitching just like other, sort of B-list celebrities. It's like, no, because it wasn't like the right, and Tracy especially. And I was just like, please stop talking. Please stop talking. And she was doing that with ideas. And it really was like, being helpful. And she said, well, what if he has a daughter that's exactly like him? And I was like, that's really, fuck, that kid would be miserable.
Yeah.
And it very quickly was like, it's funny to think that like all that stuff with a girl who actually cares about, a big part of what made Malcolm as a character like want to not commit suicide was he was so blinkered and so oblivious to most of that stuff. And, he didn't get a sense that he cared if he had any friends or not.
Right.
But like girls that age do.
Yeah.
And still having to work with that toolkit. And then Malcolm as a father having the same thing, that I have. It's just like, I am not going to do what my parents did. I'm going to be a fucking good parent and I'm going to care about being a good parent. And then seeing like this kid is unhappy and not being able to do anything. I was like, okay, well, that's certainly interesting. Some sort of things that are funny can come out of that. And it let me write. And then once I had that, the rest of it came out pretty quickly.
Was there a storyline that was tough to crack
Nope.
for you?
No character where you're like, what the fuck would they be up to?
No, I think, just having a reason to start thinking about it, like I had 20 years. I mean, here's the big reason that like nothing happened before that. Malcolm, I didn't have any real, like, you can't say that, you can't do that. It was a dream, but 150 episodes of sort of saying anything I wanted to say. It's like being at a cocktail party where you're sort of the life of the party and, you're telling your story. And if you get 45 minutes of that uninterrupted, you run out of there's no more charm left.
You're like, well, I guess I was at the bank last week.
Yeah, and like it felt like that.
Yeah.
And, I think whatever happened, I did notice, I won't say what they were, but like, I was like, oh, this is a good idea. Oh, that came easy. And this is a good idea. No, that can, and then I realized about like while we were filming, some of these were like things that we did very close to the exact same thing in, the old show. That either it was like the exact same thing but with a different character or the exact same thing with the exact same character. But like it was in a different enough situation. So I know that the Reddit.
Oh, they'll have a field day.
Yes.
We wouldn't know.
We wouldn't know.
Here's
we wouldn't
the
know.
thing that none of that was intentional. None of that was callbacks.
Sure.
It was just like that thing where you're repeating yourself and you don't know.
Yeah. Right. Well, it's like you are the same person. and it's still, even if they are similar storylines and things that they go through, like they are different characters. It's been 20 years.
Yeah.
So they're going to experience them differently.
That's my excuse.
Yep.
Was there ever a direction that you even considered where Malcolm was not the president necessarily, but in politics or that trying to achieve that future that Lois?
I felt like that was too limiting because if
Yeah.
it was real, one, it wouldn't be. I mean, I get there was a show set in Washington D.C. that David Hyde Pierce was in that was actually pretty funny, but it wasn't about people or relationships, and it wasn't certainly like the family. That family can't be involved in his political thing, and I didn't like the idea of like where it felt like he just needed to avoid his family because of his political future.
Yeah.
It just felt like it felt really fake.
Yeah.
Right.
And like that. And if it was real, it'd be really creepy and bad. So,
Although Tristan was saying that he has those political ambitions. I like that
Right,
little.
right.
well, and I like that. That's why she hadn't told him about the arrest.
Yeah.
Like that made sense to me, and like that. He wasn't in the middle of it. 40 is pretty young to be running for president.
Right. You got to start with congressmen.
Yeah.
You got to start.
Did when you were doing the finale of the original, in your mind, were you like, this guy's not going to be the president? Like, did you think that?
Oh no, I thought he would.
Really?
I still think he might. Wow.
I just think he might too. With the thing that Tristan, I agree with the good Linwood. No, the thing that Tristan said of like him having these, what was it, reluctant ambition? Something.
Talking about how reluctant.
Reluctant move into politics or whatever, and he is following the path that Lois laid out.
Yeah.
Although Lois then is like, oh, I just said all that shit, but I don't know if she said all that shit.
No, you know what? It's a plan, and you don't. It wasn't a fake plan. It wasn't a lie, but it's a plan is not a contract. That's one of my real that I always say to like studios, about like when the due dates are, when we can film this, or what money we can do this for. Like, look, this is a plan.
Yep.
It is not a contract. Like, we have thought this through, and this is our very best guess on what's going to work out. But if it doesn't mean we were lying to you. And I like to say that like way ahead of time.
Right. I like that. That's a good philosophy.
There's the eventual kind of, you're waiting for Malcolm and Lois to have this just talk, and have this conversation. And when it finally comes, it's undercut a little bit by, not dramatically or anything, but at the same time, Craig is taking a shit in the stall right next to
That made me so happy when I had that idea.
That was my
oh
question,
my
yeah.
God.
I wouldn't say he's taking a shit. I would say diarrhea is streaming out of him. I would say he's having a horrible experience.
Well, that's semantics.
We spent. I mean, when I was like, oh, we got to do this thing. There's got to be some way to make this funny.
Yeah, you
And
gotta
it's
undercut it a little.
Okay, well, they're in a bathroom, and what's funny in a bathroom is somebody having explode. And I was so delighted. Yeah.
And then the reveal of Reese coming out.
Yeah.
Like, we can't talk
I feel like it's emblematic of a thing that I like about the show is that it does resist moments of pure sentimentality. Like throughout it, like it shies away. It always finds a way to it always finds a way to either laugh at itself, right, or undercut it a little bit.
Yeah, I try to avoid, because it gets very familiar where it's very sentimental, and then there's one thing that, the rug pull joke that does that, because it just feels very easy. And I really like it when it's just part of the scene where there's this stuff going on. It was just like, oh God, I get to like answer and resolve this stuff and do all these shit jokes. Like, and again, they're so easy. It's like poo-poo humor. And you're writing the hard stuff, and then you get this little like twice a page vacation where you're just writing the crassest, most juvenile stuff, which
awesome.
I was so delighted with myself at that scene. And when we were editing it, we spent weeks on the individual sound effects. And
I'm sure.
Tracy was horrified. Me and Steve Welch were just like, how about this one?
Well, that could have been a big break in acting.
We're auditioning sound effects, and different ones. And I will tell you, I had on my phone, because I knew we were doing this for about 2 years, I would record myself first thing in the morning on the audio thing. And then I started sending them to my oldest son, who would then send me his.
Oh my
And then it was
God.
a contest to who could come up with the best name for the fart. Like he had one that was called Flitting Through the Meadow.
Are there any of them in there?
Any real ones?
No, not from the thing. The sound quality wasn't good.
Oh, come on.
Well, we got some good mics right here.
Yeah. We can do a couple
I'll
takes.
see what I can work out.
Was there anything that you were a little oh, this is gonna piss people off in the revival, or anything that?
I hope not. I mean, I don't think too much. I really do, and for better or for worse, I always think about like what I would want to watch.
Yeah.
And I really have never had a sense. I worked for 20 years and wrote plenty of pilots. And I think they were all good. And there's no way of knowing what people are going to respond to or what people are going to be mad at. I worked on Night Court, and there was this episode where it was a hurricane. And I thought it was really stupid. It was like there was a hurricane, and they always had to have. They had a bunch of like almost kabuki theater rules where everything. There always had to be like a bottle show, but it had to be, which means you're all in one place at the same time, and it's usually like a money thing to say. But I mean, sitcoms, every show's a bottle show. But what he meant was everyone's in the same room and stuck together for whatever. Contrived reason. This was a hurricane in New York, and there was a birthing class, and so it was everybody, everybody had to like somehow like the birthing class. Everyone simultaneously like went into labor. There were like 9 women going into labor at the same time.
Sounds like a dream.
And each one of the characters had their own baby to deliver.
Jesus Christ.
I thought it was like, this is really fucking contrived and really stupid. And, the jokes aren't even that good for this kind of thing. And we got letters. And the letters were about like, you had a black guy actually sitting between the legs of a white woman, like reaching and just sort of, and that was the controversy about that episode. It was like Charlie Robinson was helping deliver a white woman's baby. So because of that, he was seeing her vagina.
Wow. And you're like, we could have never thought that somebody would.
Yeah, I mean, that I think about that so much. Like, what was why is that person?
It's so
why is he writing? Like, why does he have?
It's amazing he has the ability to write.
Yeah.
Damn.
I guess I wanted to touch on and we're wrapping.
Yeah, we're wrapping up here. But.
I've worn out my welcome.
No,
I'm feeling it.
Can you talk about the video that Lois puts together of all these kind of testaments to Hal at the?
Yeah, I mean, what I realized, I want to do the 40th anniversary thing just because that was, I think, the most like TV thing about this whole project was, why do they want to get together? And I was like, it can always be some fucking party, And then I was thinking, well, what their anniversary, okay. And then I like the idea of like, because we had established that Hal had always had these over-the-top expressions of love, and we hadn't really ever seen it from Lois, and we'd had spoken to the fact that, Hal is so much more in love with her than, because it's not humanly possible to be as in love with anyone, and that Lois confronts him about it in an episode where he says, like, if I look at other men, you don't even look at what would I be looking at? I says, gee, okay, if I look at other men, I'm not going to do anything, but I look, if that means you love me more than I love you,
right.
And it's like she's really hurt at that idea, and he's going. Yeah, that's always been true. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, if you love me as much as I love you, we would never leave that fucking house. Like, our lives don't work if you love me as much as I love you. And the idea that she was obsessed about this because it was going to be her one chance. Like, I love the line, no one's ever done that for me. And she says, no one ever let us.
Yeah.
And the tribute video, we sort of talked about a tribute video, and Al Higgins was like, I think I know what this should be. And he wrote this beautiful thing, with the specific way that, the guest cast and the family, like what those things would be. And he had that great idea of like, these words sort of obliterating the screen. And then, together we were like, let's make fun of how moving it is. where we had the audience like just stunned into silence,
Yeah.
and then like weeping, and the bus girl is weeping,
Yeah.
and people are cheering and paying it off later with their, cheering madly because they'll have Malcolm and
Yeah.
Tristan will have sex later.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
We actually did reshoots because it wasn't landing enough that like the everybody of it, because we had all these shots of, our cast, but the idea of like the entire crowd is feeling the
Right.
exact same
You need
thing.
more strangers. And,
That it needed more strangers, so we reshot it with like 30 total strangers in those scenes to cut them in.
Yeah. Yeah, there were
Before-
some people I was like, am I supposed to know that person from some old video episode?
One tiny thing that I forgot to touch on. So the Krellboyns have. Also, wait. Krellboyns is a name.
Yeah, where did that
come from? I know it came from Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, Little Shop of Horrors. I don't know. It just sounded like what you would say. There was something that people called us in the special class, but
Oh, we can't
Nerds.
say that here.
it wasn't special. And I was trying to find, because I thought there has to be that name, and you're a named
Yeah.
Yeah.
subgroup,
Yeah.
because that's how, it was like the visual joke we had for that was him being being smart is exactly like being radioactive.
Right.
So
Cut
good.
above,
So
and
good.
like there's, people just sort of subconsciously avoiding, keeping their distance. And it just occurred to me when we were writing it that like Krellboyne sounded like,
So it wasn't like a slang term that was being used.
No.
Like you just came up with it.
No.
Oh, wow.
And in the revival, so they've created. We only watched those 2 episodes once. Those last 2 episodes. But the idea is, what's the kid's name?
Hubert.
Hubert. He's like lab grown. Is that the idea?
I mean, we wanted to make it mysterious. I mean, he says like, "Oh, with the surrogate," and they sort of look at each other and go,
it's so funny.
"Yeah, sure,
Sure.
surrogate,
I love it.
That's so good.
Okay. Last sort of question. Have to ask it. But any ideas for the future? Is this truly the end of Malcolm in the Middle?
So you begin with a disappointing question, and you finish with a disappointing.
Well, we want to stay
question.
consistent.
That's nothing if not consistent.
I don't know. I'm very old. I was very, very happily retired, and I'm still like we've had this, sort of whirlwind with the premiere, and I'm really spending a lot of time. I would like to go back to being, in my pajama bottom and no shirt, just sort of like reclining in my backyard, and like I like that life. I'm not a real hard worker, apparently. You know what it is? I work. I don't have a mature enough sense of how invested I should be in something, and so I over-invest unintentionally, and so everything is just really laborious for me.
Right.
When they don't need to be. I work with Ken, and Ken, like, he works really hard, but it's like so easy.
Yeah.
And like he's just so gentle and sweet and lyrical about everything.
Yeah.
And I get so fucking jealous working with him. Like I do. I just like, why can't I be like you? He goes like, well, I don't understand this why. I guess, I guess you could do it, but I don't think, who cares? You're fine. And it's like, see, I wish I had said that.
Careful with the bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
So
you have to take care of.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a lovely, lovely experience. It was like, and I was a little better, but it was still like I needed a lot of help to just calm down, and like just have it be like a normal working experience for me.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're also helping this charity, Healing California. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
And that's a very, very noble pursuit you're doing outside of this as well.
It's
Plug it.
www.healingca.org. Does free, completely free vision and dental care, because that's sort of a unfortunately ignored part of healthcare, like even with the VA and the Affordable Health Care Act, that still doesn't get quite the help they deserve. And it like costs, someone working full time, it takes 3 weeks' salary just to get an infected tooth pulled. You know, like I haven't checked the price yet, but like 7 years ago when we started, it cost $2,400 to get a tooth extracted.
Yeah.
You know, and that's like, for some people, it's like 3 weeks' pay.
And it's so maddeningly painful, that stuff.
Yes.
And it's like near your brain, so that stuff really affects you. And
I'll tell you, we see people,
Yeah.
you know, I had a toothache. Last time I had a toothache, it happened at like 9 o'clock at night, and I had to wait until 8:30 in the morning the next day. And I thought I was going to shoot up my family and set the house on fire. And there's people that, you know, they've been going with a giant abscess in their mouth, you know, and they're just having to live like that.
yeah.
Anyway, so it's volunteer doctors, real eye doctors, real dentists with real field equipment. We set up at like events that other people might be doing, either homeless events where, you know, it'll have like showers and free haircuts and a judge that, you know, will dismiss vagrancy convictions and things like that so they can get a job or get an ID. And we're like where you can get free dental and vision care and actually get glasses that day. We bought a optical grinder so that you can walk in, get your exam from an ophthalmologist or an optometrist, and then walk out with a pair of glasses.
Wow.
And it's just free. We don't make anyone, the dentists and eye doctors don't have to do paperwork, and the people coming in don't have to do paperwork. You know, if you're gonna like be willing to sit in a parking lot at 3 a.m. to get a space to get a free teeth cleaning, you know, we don't care. That's fine. Like,
So healingca.com.
Healing California, it's healingca.org.
.org.
It's a fucking charity. It's a .org.
Thank you so much.
Money, yeah. Pig.
I think you could really sell some merch on this thing. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Linwood, for being with us.
My
and,
pleasure.
It means a lot.
taking an interest in our podcast. I mean, that was like...
We were so surprised and happy that a podcast about this exists.
We were surprised it hadn't before. Yeah?
There have been other attempts. You can find them of people have done them, but Ryan and I were very, very committed to giving this show the attention it so deserves. And you know, it got a lot of Emmy and awards, so I understand that. But now, I think even now, like people should be seeing this show as just an example of what great TV can be. And I really.
Golly.
Yeah.
No matter the transgresses and opinions of the creator.
And if this is truly the end of the show, then it
Yeah.
goes on a huge high. And,
Yep.
and you should be very proud of the survival and, of course,
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. I'm very proud of it, and it was really a great experience. So.
Yeah. Well, amazing, and we're very very happy to have you. Thank you.
And
for
to the
coming
subreddit,
on. Yeah.
we got him.
Yeah.
So-
Look at us now, subreddit. The view from the top is grand, I have to say. And you can keep
We're gonna
us
go-
down. Yeah.
We're gonna go play golf after this.
Yeah, right. We might
with,
just
Linwood.
Yeah.
Wow.
We won't think about you at all. So
I'm glad to be a small part of this shameless attack.
we will.
right.
If it's vindictive, I'm in.
Yes.
That's what I like.
All righty.
Thank you,
Well,
guys.
Thank
yeah,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, no, maybe.